Jeremiah Benjamin Weinberger was born on September 29, 1967 in Chicago, Illinois. He was a son of Aaron David Weinberger and had 7 siblings. He was a native of Puerto Rico, but in the 1990s resided in Chicago. According to his friends, Jeremiah was full of life, easygoing and likable. He was very honest and sincere person, who was always close to his family. He never was in a bad mood, said Tim Gideon, his roommate. I never saw him get mad about anything. Tim also said that Jeremiah loved art and was very meticulous. He also said that his desk was always straight, and he knew where everything was. He always dressed nice and cared a lot about what he wore and how he looked. In the Gold Coast apartment the two shared with others, no one was allowed to bring strangers home. He was working in a gay club called Bijou Theater. This job meant a lot for him. Before he was hired every week since 1985, Jeremy came to Bijou's office and asked his boss about the job. Any, janitorial, receptionist, inventory or something else. But his boss always told him there was no position available, so Jeremy came every week patiently. According to Jeremy's boss, for 6 or 7 months Jeremy didn't miss a single week. Finally one day Jeremy got his dream job. He was going to start mailing. Jeremy was so happy and excited that he immediately showed off to his co-workers. He was supposed to start work on the next day, but he started answering phones and submitting documents the same day. Jeremy's boss said, Jeremy wanted a place to belong, a place where he was respected, and he found that place working at the Bijou. Every day Jeremy was coming to his boss' office asking if he needed anything and checking to see if his work was satisfactory. He quickly made a lot of friends in work, but his closest friend became Ted Jones, who also worked in the office at the Bijou. Jeremiah was last seen on July 6, 1991, around 3 a.m., when he was spending Saturday night at Carol's Speakeasy, a gay bar in Chicago, which was right next to Bijou. He met Jeffrey Dahmer there. Dahmer later said that Jeremy was very kind and welcoming. Something that really surprised Dahmer was that Jeremy was actually interested in him and didn't want anything in return. Jeremy was also very attractive, and Dahmer said that the men he found most attractive never showed any interest in him. And Jeremy wanted to spend time with him and didn't want money in return, as it happened with Dahmer's previous victims. This made Dahmer wonder if there was a possibility that Jeremy would stay with him without having to experiment on him or kill him. But then Jeremiah met his best friend in the bar, Ted Jones, and talked to him for half an hour. Then Dahmer left the table and sat down alone. He most likely realized then that Jeremiah would never be his and only his, because he was already connected to other people. He had family and friends. Then, unfortunately, Dahmer decided to do the same as he had done with the previous victims. While his talk with Teddy Jones, Jeremy was very excited. He told Teddy that he had met a nice-looking man, and they had been talking, dancing, kissed and held hands all night. Jeremy said that the man invited him to spend the weekend together in Milwaukee, where he lived. No one had ever asked Jeremy to do this before and it all seemed so exciting and romantic for him. There's no doubt he thought this was the beginning of a relationship. Despite that he was still not sure if he should go with Dahmer, and asked Teddy about his opinion in this case. He said that Dahmer looked nice and if Jeremy really wanted to go with him, he should go for it. Later, Jeremy told Teddy to call him at home the next day and if he didn't answer the phone, it meant he had gone to Milwaukee. Jeremy and Dahmer took the Greyhound bus to Milwaukee. They spent the night together and the entire day, which was still Saturday 6th. They ate breakfast together and spent the day walking around downtown and drinking beer. Dahmer began to think that Jeremiah would be the one to stay with him. But then Jeremy began talking about his job and that he wanted to come back home to Chicago. That was the moment Dahmer decided to prepare his treacherous mixture of drink and sleeping pills to make Jeremiah stay. I wanted to see if I could find a way of keeping him with me without actually killing him, Dahmer said. According to the book The Shrine of Jeffrey Dahmer, when Jeremiah fell asleep, Dahmer drilled a hole in his skull and poured boiling water into his brain. Jeremy woke up in the evening. He spoke, but he was dazed, and Dahmer hoped he could keep him that way. Dahmer helped him take a shower. Jeremiah didn't mention anything about his head. Nothing leaked from the head wound, blood or other fluids. He hadn't slept in 6 hours, but he was sleepy and indecisive. He didn't try to leave the apartment. He didn't know what had happened to him and didn't understand why he felt this way. July 7th on Sunday evening Dahmer had to go to work, but Jeremy was still hanging around the apartment, so Dahmer gave him another dose of pills and another injection of boiling water into the same hole. When he left for work, Jeremy was lying on his bed. When he came to the apartment on Monday morning he found him dead. Jeremy fell off the bed and lay on the floor with his eyes open. Dahmer later said that Jeremy's death was unique, because he was the only victim who died with his eyes open. Teddy Jones began to worry about his friend on Monday, July 8. He was calm while the weekend was passing, because he knew where Jeremy was and he thought he was safe. But things changed when on Monday Jeremy didn't show up for work. Teddy and Jeremy were talking every day and Jeremy never missed work. When the bijou closed at 6 p.m. on Monday, Teddy and his co-workers came to Jeremy's house. He lived above his father's coffee shop on Halstead Street. They went to his apartment and found out that he didn't come back home yet. On Tuesday, July 9, a lot of Jeremy's friends from Bijou were extremely worried. Jeremy didn't come home and didn't call anyone. They came to the boss's office and wanted to do something. Teddy, who felt that something was wrong, was upset, worried, smiling less and laughing nervously. He had photos of Jeremy that they wanted to blow up to poster size and circulate. 2 or 3 people planned to go to Milwaukee over the weekend, going to the bars, bathhouses, and gay stores, handing out posters and flyers, putting them on trees, telephone poles, and fences. I took out ads in the Windy City Times and Gay Chicago magazine, asking if anyone knew the whereabouts of Jeremy. His boss said. On Wednesday, July 10, Jeremy's father filed a missing persons report with the Chicago and Milwaukee police departments. Teddy testified to the police. 2 weeks passed and there was no information and had no response from the posters or flyers. Jeremy didn't show up at work, didn't come home, didn't call his family or friends. He's been missing a little more than 2 weeks, said David Weinberger of his son. I don't know what has happened. We are waiting for reports from the police. There's nothing more I can tell you, except that I miss him. Everyone at Jeremy's work was nervous and worried, thinking about the worst things that could happen. Everything in the office was different. Jeremy wasn't there to say hello to me every day, to ask me how I was doing, or to ask if there was anything I needed. Jeremy's boss said. On July 22, 1991, the world was shocked by the news about a serial killer from Milwaukee, after his would-be 18th victim managed to escape from his apartment. Jeremy's friends from work waited in suspense. They wanted to know if this was the same man Jeremy left with on July 6. Unfortunately, it was. Jeremy's mother and sister began calling the office a few days after his death was confirmed. They wanted Jeremy's affiliations, paychecks, and wanted to know who the beneficiary of his life insurance policy was. Jeremy's boss gave everything to his father because he was the one Jeremy was closest to. A memorial service was held for Jeremy and several hundred people showed up to pay their respects. The office of Bijou mourned Jeremy for about 2 years. Carol's Speakeasy, where Jeremy met Dahmer, closed a few months later. Teddy blamed himself for letting Jeremy go with a stranger. He never got over the fact that he told Jeremy to go with Dahmer, that his instincts were so terribly wrong. Teddy liked to party, and after Jeremy's death, he got more into partying, drinking, and drugs. 6 months after Dahmer was sent to prison, Teddy left his job at Bijou, but a year later he asked his boss for a job again because he wanted to change his life and was looking for help. He quit drugs and drinking. He worked for Bijou for 6 or 8 months. He was happy and well, and the Bijou office was happy to have him back. But one day a special occasion came and Teddy went to the party again. Due to the alcohol and drug problems he struggled with after Jeremy's death, his body was weakened and he lost tolerance to them. His body couldn't handle the amount of substances he had taken that night. He returned home and knocked on his neighbor's door, asking for help. When the neighbor opened the door, Teddy tripped and fell. He died in his neighbor's arms. According to his boss, Teddy Jones was Dahmer's last victim. Jeremy's dad Aaron David Weinberger sued Donna Chester and her superiors. Defendant Donna Chester was Dahmer's probation officer from on or about March 9, 1990 until on or about July 23, 1991. The lawsuit accused them of poor supervision of Dahmer. They allegedly disregarded the safety of people who became victims of Dahmer's crimes. Jeremy's father alleged, first of all, that the probation officer, Donna Chester, did not show up at Dahmer's apartment as required during the probationary period, which could have made Dahmer feel confident in murdering in the apartment because he knew that he would not be surprised by the probation officer's visit. Aaron Weinberger demanded over $50,000 from the state of Wisconsin and its employees, specifically from defendant Donna Chester and her superiors, but lost his appeal. In my opinion, in the series from 2022 called Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, the creators combined the characters of Jeremiah Weinberger and Tony Hughes, Dahmer's 6th victim. In the series, Tony and Dahmer's relationship closely resembles Dahmer's real-life relationship with Jeremiah. I have found information that Tony Hughes could have known Dahmer for some time, but not in the romantic way. One of Jeremy's nephews was named Jeremiah after him. The building housed the Bijou Theater in which Jeremy and Teddy worked permanently closed on September 30, 2015. Jeremy's father Aaron Weinberger died in 2018 at the age of 83. Jeremiah died at the age of 23. If he was alive, he would be 56 years old today.